It's Emily again in the final run through of burn list goals for week 4. To start out, for week 1, I was responsible for building an e-commerce application with one other team member, in addition to completing solo work projects. So for week 1, I decided that I wanted my solo project to focus on enhancing PHP routing and knowledge of the blade templating system because we were working with Laravel. And I did this through creating a simple routing system that just went through and practiced the different kinds of routing, whether it was directly through the routes file or if it was handled in the controller, and passing a little bit of data back and forth, which that helped to directly improve or help to get my other project done as well on the team, because my responsibility on the team was building out the basic routing and the controllers for when my partner would go through and add some of the other functionality within the controllers, as well as I was also responsible for all of the views and all of the design. So then for week 2, I said I wanted to improve my CRUD abilities since we were building an e-commerce application, and I had told my partner that I would handle some of the CRUD shopping cart functionality, so removing the shopping cart or removing an item from a shopping cart and loading in data from the database. So I paralleled my week 2 burn list goal with that, and I made just a simple CRUD application where someone could create some post or a list item, and they could it would read it in, and it would update it, and it would delete it, and it was all saving it into a SQL database. So then by week 3, we were no longer working in teams, and it was all solo work. So my solo project was this thing called Recipe Box, which was essentially just this place for recipes. You could create recipes, or you could look at recipes that would be like brought in from the database that some imaginary company would have stored. So I paralleled my work again, so that by the end of week 3, I would improve my skills in databasing. So I got the databasing all set up in my solo Recipe Box project in week 3, and while also making sure that I was targeting that specific skill. So I have three collections set up using Mongoose in my local instance of a Mongo database. So one for recipes, one for users, and one for saved recipes. So then by the end of week 4, I wanted to improve my CRUD because I knew that I wanted users to be able to create their own recipes and have it saved and have it specific to their user account. So I did that part of my Recipe Box project in that week. And there's also a link to the GitHub, which has the entire solo work folder, as well as the link to the portfolio site, which also has updates on Recipe Box. This is a picture of what it looks like, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But there will be another link to the GitHub here and another link to this YouTube video. And this is found at Emily Kneff portfolio at wordpress.com. Again, the link is right here. So to do a quick run through of Recipe Box, this is it. This is what the loading page looks like. The design isn't as fleshed out as it could be. I did use Bootstrap, but I really wanted to put more of a focus on the back end for this, since I know that I can design, and I know that I have enough practice in front end that I wanted to make sure that I was getting more practice in the back end. So from this page, the user can log in, register, or they can try and view their saved even if they're not logged in. You can view recipe details even if you're not logged in. But if you try to save this recipe, it's going to direct you to the login page. However, you can opt in to continue as a guest, but for the sake of, I'll show you this, and so now I can save my recipe, and I can go into saved, and my recipe is there. And from here I can remove the recipe, and then the list is just empty. Even if I did opt in to continue as a guest, I can log in. So I have a test account. So I have just a sample recipe here. When the user logs in, they're directed to a protected route. which is their user profile, which is their My Recipes page, and their name is loaded in from the database based on what they registered with. And so you can see the recipe that I already have in the database. I can edit this if I choose to. I can also go home. I can go back to my recipes. I can delete this recipe. I can make a new recipe and say I wanted to call it salad. And I'm gonna give my own rating to this recipe, and I'm gonna give it a description of the best salad you'll ever have. Although only a 2-star rating, I guess it's not really the best, but it's okay. Ingredients, so we'll say that it's lettuce and tomatoes and cheese, and that's plenty. So now the recipe shows up here again on this protected route. I can go in and edit it also, say if I wanted this to actually be an egg salad. So instead of lettuce and tomatoes, it would be eggs and mayo and maybe onions. And again, the recipe shows up here with the updated information. The user can log out or they can register. So yeah, it's a basic application. There's not a whole lot to it, but it did help me get a lot of practice in with my Node capabilities, and there's a lot of places that I could take this just to get more practice in other areas. I could add API functionality, I could add a lot more like little design things, I could use less of a front-end framework for the design, and I could do more of my own to show off more of my CSS skills. But for the sake and the time frame of this project, this was what I was able to come up with. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future.